Hello everybody and welcome to the commented games with Antelacus. Antelacus, it's me, an Italian national chess master, and I will comment with you some of my daily chess games, those I consider the most interesting ones I played recently on the platform chess.com. Okay, the game of today is a game I won. It was a 3 days daily tournament and I wasn't absolutely very happy about my game. You will discover why in a few minutes. The opening is a very well-known opening, and also the variation is a very well-known variation. It's the classical variation of the King's Indian defense. I was white, and the game started with d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7. This is the King's Indian. I played the super classical variation, and also my opponent played the same. And this is the key position, the first key position of the variation. Okay, in this position, the most played move is knight e1, the move I played by myself. And for a long while, many years ago, when I was playing over the board, many tournaments, this was my preferred opening. d4 and against King's Indian, knight e1. And I played this variation also with black. So I was quite an expert of this variation. And I decided to play it in a daily tournament, in a daily game. My opponent played knight d7, is also possible knight e8, more or less is the same. Okay, my opponent played knight d7. The difference is that on d7 the knight controls c5, but this bishop is locked in. And on e8 the bishop is free, but the knight is more passive. Okay, my opponent chose to play knight d7. Knight d3 is not the only possible move in this position. It is also possible to play bishop e3. That's another idea. Very similar, but with a different realization. I decided to play knight d3, f5, bishop d2, and now something strange happened here. Because the standard move is knight f6 and the continuation is f3, f4, c5, and the game continues. And okay, the evaluation bar is down to minus 0.44, so in black's favor, but everybody knows that this is absolutely not true. And this variation is critical, very probably is more or less equal, but white has always a slight edge and a slight advantage. So, in this position, back to bishop d2, after bishop d2, my opponent played f4. f4 cannot be correct. Cannot be correct because it opens this diagonal to the bishop, but the bishop is locked in. So I can play bishop g4. This is recommended. And in this position, f4, ask any chess instructor. He will tell you f4, don't play f4 because there is bishop g4 as a good reply. And my opponent played f4. And I immediately realized that this was a mistake, a strategical mistake, because this bishop is a poor bishop, a passive bishop, will be a passive bishop. And this one is a great bishop because it controls this diagonal, helping g4, attacking a pawn on h3. Players who play this variation with black knows perfectly that this bishop is strong and this bishop is only a defended bishop. So the idea of f4 is completely wrong, because now after bishop g4 I will check on e6 or trade this bishop. And this is white's favor, of course. But take a look what happened during the game. My opponent played knight f6. I think it's a correct move. Takes, queen takes, good move. And now I started playing very badly, because I was convinced that the game will win itself without thinking. Oh, it's very easy. I know this game very easy, this variation, how to attack with black, how to play with white, c5, rook c1, opening this file, knight b5, and so on. And on the other side, black has no bishop, light squares bishop, this square is weak, and so on. And I was convinced, oh, automatic pilot, and this game is completely won. Can be, but you cannot relax for just a while in a chess game. And automatic play can lead to a disaster. Take a look at what happened in this game. White is absolutely better here. Not slightly better, is absolutely better, but not yet winning. And in this position, my reasoning was completely wrong, because I decided, okay, I play f3, h3, knight f2, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces or pawns against a push on g4. I'm okay, and then I push on c5, rook c1, and so on. And that's not completely true. It's true, but in this case, I must be more careful. And I wasn't. Because, first of all, I played f3. Okay, f3 can be correct. Can be correct for a moment. But maybe c5 immediately would have been better. Immediately. Why not c5 immediately? We must take into consideration that if I move this knight, c5 is not so easy to play, because black takes and I cannot take back. So f3 is still possible, but after g5, a very logical move, knight f2, my move, is wrong. Strategically wrong, because this is the moment to play c5. I was worried about g4. About g4. Yes, g4 is a move. It's possible to play g4. But in this case, okay, Stockfish suggests takes, and knight b5. I don't like very much this idea, because the knight is active, the rook is active. But anyway, c5 is the correct move to play. And very probably c5 must be played in this position, before f3. I didn't play it, and after knight f2, h5, h3, king h7, this is a very good move. King h7 is a very good move. I expected knight g6, a standard move, trying to manage the knight on h4, attacking g2, and so on. And here, okay, knight g6, I've planned rook c1. And in case of knight h4, bishop e1. A standard position. But I want to show you the standard position after knight f6, f3, f4, c5, g5, rook c1, maybe rook c1 is correct, Rook f7, takes, takes, knight b5, knight g6. Of course, a check on b6 doesn't work because knight f2 defends the knight. So knight g6, queen c2, knight e8. This is a standard game, a very standard game. Now here a4, and okay, I don't continue, but it's obvious h5, h3, something like that, and then bishop f8, rook g7, knight f6 after a6. Many moves are possible. Bishop d7 is also possible, but this is to show you how this variation works for those who don't know how to treat this variation. And okay, take back and play this variation. Take a look at the differences. I expected knight g6, the standard move in this position. Rook c1, rook f7, same moves. But this is an automatic play. And automatic play can be very dangerous, very, very dangerous in chess. Because now, how to push on c5? It's not so easy to push on c5. For example, takes, pawn takes, and I cannot see how to continue here. Probably it's wrong. So, if I cannot push on c5, maybe I can push on b4, and then c5, but a5 now is coming. And I don't like absolutely this position. My opponent didn't play knight g6 and played king h7. Probably, very probably, he didn't know the correct variation because he played f4 instead of knight f6. f4 is a clear mistake. But king h7 is completely out of plan in the main variation, but here can be a very good move because now the idea is to play rook g8, bishop h6 somewhere, and then g4. And I have a problem, tempi problem, because for the moment, 1, 2, 3 pieces for this push. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pieces against this push. But after king h7, rook g8 is coming. And I'm in trouble because my counterplay on c5 takes very long time. And the situation is completely reversed from the normal main line. Because in the main line, it's white who has the edge, the initiative, playing c5, taking, and so on. And black is late with his counterplay, with rook f7, rook g7, and so on. In this case, the situation is completely reversed because it's white who is clearly late with his counterplay. Should not be a counterplay, should be a play, and the counterplay should be black's counterplay. And here there is a problem, a great problem for white. There are no light square bishop. This is a great advantage for white, but at this moment it doesn't matter absolutely. And after king h7, I started realized that my position wasn't absolutely good. And I played rook c1. I need rook c1 sooner or later. It's late, but better late than never. Rook g8, correct, absolutely correct. And now another bad move. I played another bad move, and right now I really don't understand why I played this ugly move. This ugly move was queen e2. This is a completely useless move. I really don't understand why I played queen e2. And I don't remember exactly. This game ended in July 2020. Queen e2 maybe was played because I had no time to think. let's say. But in this position, white must play c5 in some way. And c5 in this position is the correct move. Because now pawn takes, and how to play here? Knight d3 again, maybe. Of course, this is not good for white. But I have no great moves. b4 is answered by a5, maybe, I think. So my position is very difficult. And knight b5 is a stupid move, because after a6, let's say knight a3, trying to play c5, and black can play b6. And his position is absolutely good. But that's not a reason to play a stupid move like queen e2. Queen e2 is really stupid, completely useless. And after g4, g4 is probably not the best move. Maybe black can play bishop h6. And bishop h6 should be very, very dangerous. My automatic play was conducting me to a real disaster. And g4 is good enough. Takes, takes, takes with the knight, takes, queen takes, pawn takes. And it's obvious that I played queen e2 and one of the next moves, queen takes g4, losing a tempo, wasted completely a tempo. And my counterplay with c5, where is? There is not. And here, after bishop f6 or h6, maybe h6, that can be a good move. Attacking g4, the other rook comes into play. I have knight b5, yes, knight b5. Rook takes, and what to play? I can take on c7, I can play rook f2, rook g8, knight c7, f3, bishop takes, check, 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 king f2, king takes. I'm a pawn up. No, I'm not a pawn up. Okay, I'm not a pawn up, and I cannot be happy with this position. The rook is very active, and I don't know what to play here. And fortunately, my opponent didn't play a move like bishop h6. And also, maybe also bishop f6 can be correct. Trying to activate the bishop in this square and then on g3. And I'm completely in trouble. Completely in trouble. So queen e2 is really a bad move, but I have few good moves. I played this move, I don't know why, expecting g4, but my opponent played badly because could play better. And now this is a mistake. I don't understand this move. Okay, I understand this move. Because he was worried, probably after bishop h6, about knight b5. But as we can saw a few minutes ago, knight b5 is not so dangerous. My opponent correctly played till now, but now a6 is a great mistake. Because now I have a free tempo, a terrible free tempo to play c5. Probably he missed it. Because after b6, a6, c5 is possible. With the pawn on a7, c5 is not possible. But with the pawn on a6, c5 is possible. And very probably my opponent missed this. Because now I play c5 immediately. Oh, here, when I saw a6, oh, just a moment, I can play c5, I'm safe. Oh, thank you very much. My opponent blundered with a6 and c5, very probably he missed that after d takes c5, knight a4, attacking c5 twice, b6, b4. And my opponent, of course, at least I suppose, missed this opportunity. Now, c takes b4 is not possible, rook takes c7, The bar is 3 plus 3, so white is winning, and that's absolutely obvious. I will take every single black pawn. So if black cannot take on b4, I will take on c5 next move. And only now my opponent played bishop f6. But now it's too late, because I take b5, correct, only move, knight b2, correct, hoping to go to d3, and from d3 I attack this very weak pawn. So, rook takes g4, finally, but here I have a sequence, a very good sequence, starting with rook c3, activating the rooks. Okay, in this position, my knight is very passive, but with one move will be very active. This rook is very passive, but in 1 and 2 moves will be very active. This bishop is very active, but with one move, bishop a5, will be very active, attacking a5. This rook is also passive and will never become active, but rook f2 defending g2 is a very good idea. So I have 4 pieces, for the moment passive pieces, but I need just one tempo for each of them to become very active. But I cannot start with a knight, because if I play knight here, the rook cannot pass through. So my first move is rook c3, stopping the bishop, okay, but activated on h3. My opponent played rook g8, that's a correct move, and check. And king g6, that's correct, but I have a tempo, because now the king is on g6, and the 2 rooks don't attack g2 twice. So I have a free tempo. And I played knight d3, activating the second piece. The position remains not so good. Better for white, but not winning. King f7, attacking g2, and rook f2. As you can see, I moved my rook, very active. My knight active, my rook passive but defensive rook. It remains only the bishop. And here my opponent played a terrible move. Completely wrong move. You can see the evaluation bar, rook g3. But this move is not wrong because it's a tactical mistake. Okay, can be a tactical mistake, but because a strategical mistake. Because in this position, black has a very passive knight that can be very active. A very passive bishop that can be very active here. 2 very active rooks without moving them, attacking g2. Okay, so absolutely don't trade pieces. Don't trade pieces. I'm in trouble. I'm still better, according to the evaluation bar, but not so convinced that this is a winning position, absolutely. And this move, rook g3, is wrong. c6, Stockfish tells me c6 is the best move. Because after d6, knight g6, king e6 is coming, defending very well e5. Okay, I'm agreeing. Knight b4, attacking these 2 pawns can be very, very good. But don't forget, if I take one of these pawns with the knight, the rook comes to a8 or on c8, attacking c5 and a2 back. So it's not so obvious. c6 is a computer move. Okay, but rook g3 is really wrong. Maybe knight g6. Knight g6. If you don't see c6, knight g6 can be very strong. And I must calculate very well if bishop f5 is playable. Must calculate very careful. Knight h4, and that's not obvious. Bishop takes, check, takes, check, king f1, rook takes. Very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Okay, maybe I can take on e5. Okay, it's a winning position. But it's not obvious to reach this winning position. So, Rook g3 is clearly a mistake. I took, of course, rook takes, because with the pawn is not possible. There is a check on 5. The bishop is pinned, and then I move my rook. For example, king g7, and no, I cannot move my rook. Oh, just a moment. Ah, okay, bishop j6, check, okay, check, takes, check, okay, and it's winning. Now it's absolutely winning. Pawn up and winning. Okay, so black must take with the rook. And now rook f3. I hope to trade another pair of rooks, and it's obvious that black cannot take because my pawns are all together here, great phalanx, and sooner or later I will play a move like bishop c3, bishop a5. I think this is a winning position. Winning endgame. I'm absolutely better. This bishop is very bad, cannot move. Here, it's doing nothing now, because without rooks it's not possible to activate the other pieces. But my opponent played rook g8, but with just one rook, my king is safe, g2 is now under attack, and I can play bishop c3, for example, attacking e5 for the second time. Knight g6, correct move, and now rook h3, I'm activating all my pieces. All my pieces. How to play here? Black must defend, and he found a losing move, immediately losing move. The position seems to be lost because plus 272 seems to be lost. But the king move or c6 again could be a better try. He played rook h8, trading another pair of rooks in a different way. Bishop takes, but now it's completely lost because bishop a5 is coming. Of course, the computer tells that c6 first is the correct move, and then bishop a5. I didn't realize that the pawn is lost anyway, because bishop f6, bishop a5, bishop d8 is not possible, because d6 comes. But here I must admit that I was absolutely convinced that the game will win by itself. The same mistake I made many moves ago, but here the position is completely different. And now my opponent played king e7, a horrible move, because c6 was the only possible move. Takes, and knight b4, knight takes a6 is coming. Everything is falling. My opponent played king e7. This equals to resignation. Bishop takes, king here, bishop a5. The last move are absolutely without sense. Bishop f6, I show you just for complete the game. Check. If I take king takes, it's not so clear. King f1, bishop d4, d6, bishop here, b4, and now here. To conclude this game, I completely missed that after knight c5 there is a forced checkmate in 3 moves, starting with d7 and d8. It's very easy. Do you think it's very easy? Yes, it's very easy, and I completely missed it because I played king e2, and after b3, very strange move, I took and my opponent resigned. And also here I could have played knight c5 because there is a forced checkmate in 3 moves again. Okay, and this is the final position. There is absolutely nothing for black, nothing to do for black, and this game has a great character because my opponent played a very well-known variation of the King's Indian. But he played f4. I can immediately back to show you the critical points. If you play this variation, this game is very, very instructive. Very, very instructive. how not to play with white this variation. After f4, very dubious move, bishop g4 is correct. So don't play f4, play knight f6. Knight f6 in this position is the correct way to play this variation. But probably you know that f4 is a clear strategically mistake. Bishop g4, takes. Now be careful. Be careful because here the correct move is c5. You must play c5 immediately. Must play c5. Don't care about g5, g4, and so on. c5 must be played immediately because you must play another move like rook c1 to complete your plan with knight b5 and so on. There is time to play f3 after c5, and I played f3 immediately, and after g5 I was still in time to play c5 now. And I played a different move, knight f2. Knight f2 is completely wrong. It's a strategical mistake because I was convinced that I must stop g4 and then c5. The problem is I didn't stop g4 as you saw, and I didn't play c5. I played c5 only because my opponent played a6, a tactical mistake. So this is the first position in which I played automatically, and automatically playing can be very dangerous in chess. Leads to a disaster very often. h4, h5, king h7. My opponent, without knowing the correct, not the correct, the most the correct plan to play knight g6, rook here, bishop f8, and rook g7. Played a move, absolutely logical move, and I was in trouble. Rook c1, rook g8, and now queen e2 is terrible, but I have no good moves. And the lack of good moves leads to stupid moves like queen e2. Don't play like me in this variation. g4, and as you can see, I didn't stop g4. I wasted tempo with queen d2, and c5. I cannot play c5. And thanks to a6, I could have played c5. But without a6, as you can see, bishop h6 or bishop f6, choose you the best move. I don't know what to play. Very probably knight e2. Trying to play c5, but the knight on e2 is bad placed, very bad placed. Or maybe knight d1, knight f2, both possible, but it's absolutely obvious that white has no advantage here. And thanks to a6, I could have played c5 for tactical reasons. Because, take a look, a stupid move, king h8, c5 is not possible. Takes, knight here, this move, and b4. That's a different story. Completely different story. But with the pawn on a6, let's say here, the pawn on a6, c5 takes knight, this, and b4. The pawn is on a6, and this pawn is not defended. That's the problem, because bishop f6 now, a tempo later, takes. I'm threatening to take on b6. That's the difference. And so, after take, b5 is the only move. But now c7 is weak, e5 is weak, a6 is weak. 3 weak pawns in black's camp. And now, the other crucial moment was here, after rook takes. As I explained, I have 4 pieces, 4 passive pieces, but I need just 1 or 2 moves to activate all of them, starting with rook c3. Rook g8, check, this, winning a tempo, knight d3, rook f2, and now suddenly my pieces are very active. Not this bishop, that it doesn't matter. Bishop a5 is gone. Of course, just a moment. Bishop h4 is a blunder because I take on 5 with check and then on g4. Okay, and then the position, the third crucial moment was when black played rook g3, rook g3. I'm very sorry, but rook g3 cannot be a good move. Trading rooks is completely wrong. And then I tried to trade another rook, and my opponent helped me again with rook h8. And I think I was very, very lucky in this game. Because in this game, my opponent made a mistake, a strategical mistake at the very beginning of the variation with f4. And after f4, I played correct 2 or 3 moves, and then I stopped thinking, I stopped reasoning. And that's very, very dangerous in a chess game. And as you saw, with a correct play, black would have been very dangerous and absolutely would never lose this game. Okay, and thank you very much for following this game. I think it has been a very, very instructive game. And for players who play this variation with white and black can be very useful. I hope you make use of my analysis to play better, very better this variation with both colors, white and black. Okay, thank you very much for following. I hope you enjoyed with my commented chess games. Follow me on YouTube, become a subscriber, and also you can follow me on Twitch, where I am Antelacus, as here. And thank you very much, and see you for the next commented chess game with Antelacus. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.